हैं कि पेट्रोल महंगा हो? हाँ, यस, अगर आप ये चाहते हैं कि पेट्रोल की कंजम्पशन कम हो, दैट आई एग्री, आई विल बाय दैट आइडिया, यस, आई विल बाय दिस आइडिया कि अगर कार्बन टैक्स से पेट्रोल की कंजम्पशन कम होती है, आई विल सपोर्ट दिस आइडिया ऑल द वे अराउंड। बट आई एम फर्मली अ बिलीवर द कार्बन टैक्स से पेट्रोल कंजम्पशन कम नहीं होगी। कार्बन टैक्स सिर्फ एक कॉस्ट ऐड करेगा और रेवेन्यू सोर्स है। मेरा पर्सनल व्यू है कार्बन टैक्स शुड बी रिमूव्ड बिकॉज इट इज डायरेक्टली अफेक्टिंग द कॉमन मैन, इट इज डायरेक्टली अफेक्टिंग द इंडस्ट्री। Capital value tax. Income of the real estate sector is proposed to be tapped through substantial increase in the capital value tax on the purchase of property. I totally agree with this कि ये होना चाहिए था, but it has been stated that it's a temporary measure till the time the provinces agree to levy provincial capital gain tax. आपने सुना होगा तकरीर में मैडम ने कहा था कि ये हम जब प्रोविंसेस एग्री कर जाएंगे, आपको पता है रिकमेंडेशन थी, पता नहीं इरफान साहब को मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि रिकमेंडेशन होनी चाहिए कि रियल एस्टेट पे कैपिटल गेन टैक्स रिवाइव कर दें जो पहले हुआ करता था। आई थिंक वही करने की कोशिश की गई है, मैं शायद प्रोविंसेस एग्री नहीं कर रहे थे, तो एक टेम्प्रेरी मेजर है कि आप इसको सीबीटी में डाल दें, जब प्रोविंसेस एग्री कर जाएंगे तो हम उसको वापस ले जाएंगे कैपिटल गेन टैक्स में। बट आई थिंक दैट हैज टू बी एग्रीड, क्योंकि मेरा ये इशू है, आई एम वेरी वेरी फर्म बिलीवर वेदर समबडी लाइक और नॉट, आई एम टोटली अगेंस्ट प्रेसिडेंशियल टैक्सेशन। I don't, whether whatever argument you give it, I don't buy present taxation. That income should be taxed, receipt should not be taxed. It should be capital gain की आप receipt tax कर रहे हैं या उसकी purchase price tax कर रहे हैं, आप उसकी net income tax करें, I totally agree with this. And इसमें issue आएगा valuation का, वही under valuation का मसला आएगा। इसलिए जो इसमें issue था, इंडिया का law है, preemptive right डालना पड़ेगा जो इंडिया में है कि अगर आप एक certain price से कम पे buy करेंगे तो right है गवर्नमेंट का to buy in। और मेरा इसमें एक और पर्सनल व्यू भी है कि 25 लाख से कम वाली प्रॉपर्टी पे आप उसको एक्सक्लूड कर दें, क्योंकि उसको वो कंपैरेटिवली गरीब आदमी का है जिसको ले रहा है, अगर 25 लाख की प्रॉपर्टी ले रहा है, छोटा मोटा फ्लैट ले रहा है, तो उसको आप एक बर्डन नहीं करें, वो हायर प्रॉपर्टी पे इसका बर्डन होना चाहिए। दिस आई एग्री, मगर इसको वापस जाना चाहिए उस चीज़ में जहाँ पे था ओरिजिनली। अब नाउ वी आर ऑल टॉकिंग अबाउट द प्रॉब्लम्स, नाउ वी शुड, आई विल कंसंट्रेट ऑन दिस स्लाइड एंड दिस इज माई एंड ऑफ द लास्ट स्लाइड, सेकंड लास्ट स्लाइड। आई वुड लाइक व्हाट शुड द सोल्यूशन। हम सारे बहुत देर से मर्सिया पढ़ रहे हैं बजट का, बट लेट अस टॉक अबाउट द सॉल्यूशंस। मेरा सोल्यूशन ये है, फर्स्ट सोल्यूशन ये है कि लेट अस कंसंट्रेट डोमेस्टिक इकोनॉमी, जिसको हमने कभी सब्जेक्ट नहीं बनाया, एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट, एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट। हैव वी टॉक्ड अबाउट गुजरांवाला, फैसलाबाद, डस्का, नूरियाबाद, हपको? नो, इट वाज नेवर अ सब्जेक्ट, इट वाज नेवर अ सब्जेक्ट। हम ट्रेडिंग को प्रमोट करते रहे। देन again against the classical concept, we have to create a protective wall against local industry. हमें एक लोकल इंडस्ट्री के सामने प्रोटेक्टिव वॉल बनानी पड़ेगी। अगर मेरी प्रोडक्ट महंगी भी है तो मुझे उसको प्रोटेक्शन देनी पड़ेगी, इसलिए कि मैं ये अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता कि मैं पैम्पर इंपोर्ट करूँ और मिनरल वाटर इंपोर्ट करूँ। मुझे लोकल इंडस्ट्री को प्रोटेक्शन वॉल बनानी पड़ेगी, whether I like it or not, whether the economic theory accept it or not, whether we do it or not. I think this is a right time to start thinking in that manner. Third is, we have to seriously review our exchange regulations. Seriously review our exchange regulations. We have not been sincere, I am saying we have not been sincere with this country in respect to exchange regulations. We have dollarized the economy in such a terms कि मुझे एक क्लाइंट ने कहा कि मैं सैलरी पाकिस्तान में डॉलर में देना चाहता हूँ, इस हद तक हम चले गए थे। थिंक इन रुपी टर्म्स, यूएस डॉलर इज नॉट आवर करेंसी, वी हैव टू डी डॉलराइज आवर कंट्री। देन सेविंग ऑफ पीओएल शुड बी द सोल्यूशन। हमें कोई नेशनल स्कीम बनानी पड़ेगी टू सेव पेट्रोल। कार्बन टैक्स इज नॉट द आंसर टू रिड्यूस द पेट्रोल कंजम्पशन। कार्बन टैक्स इज नॉट द आंसर. We have to have some scheme whereby the petrol consumption is reduced. Some measure to introduce rationing, whatever you do it, rationing or whatever you do it, to reduce the consumption of petrol rather than carbon tax. Then where we are totally lacking, we are not talking, is change in the paradigm of banking sector. हमारे मुल्क में सबसे ज़्यादा जो मसला पड़ा हुआ है बैंकिंग सेक्टर का है. Banking sector has not worked in the manner a banking sector of developing country should work. We have serious problem about the insolvency laws. We have to bring in something like TARP जो अमेरिका में हो रहा है. आपको इंडस्ट्री इन डिस्ट्रेस के लिए आपको कुछ चीज़ लानी पड़ेगी, चाहे आपको पसंद हो नहीं पसंद हो, अच्छा लगे नहीं लगे. आज जो बिजनेस इन डिस्ट्रेस है, सवाल मेरा ये नहीं है कि उसने चोरी कर ली, लेके चला गया, भाग गया, बेईमान है, चोर है। सवाल मेरा ये है कि जो फैक्ट्री लगा कर रखा हुआ है कोरंगी में या साइट में, क्या उसको बंद करके बेचना है कबाड़ी को या उसको चलाना है? ये सवाल इस वक्त नहीं है कि मैं उसे पकड़ूँ वो कहाँ गया, कैसे जो चोरी की उसने, पहले भी हम कुछ नहीं कर सके। सवाल मेरा इस वक्त ये है कि उस जो फैक्ट्री मेरी साइट में लगी हुई है उसको मैंने जिंदा कैसे रखना है? Because we have already gone down to manufacturing sector by 7.7% and that will create a social chaos. Then we have to differentiate between industrial finance and normal commercial banking. हमने इंडस्ट्रियल फाइनेंस को इस मुल्क में ख़त्म कर दिया। आप ये कह रहे हैं कि मैं 18% बोरोइंग रेट लगा के इंडस्ट्री लगाऊं, दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल। ये पैराडाइम, दिस पैराडाइम वाज मेड टू प्रमोट स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस, टू प्रमोट ट्रेड, to promote the people who don't have faith for this country. I don't buy that idea. CBT on property we converted into capital gain tax by provinces, and the bigger issue is we have to devolve the expenditure from federal government. We have a PSDP of 700 or 600 billion rupees and the federal government is spending on irrigation, health, education. Why should they do? When health, education is a federal subject, is a provincial subject, why should allocation, why the money should be spent through Islamabad, not through the provinces? As I said in many places that Islamabad और लियारी में फासला बहुत बढ़ गया है, वो रास्ते में पैसे रुक जाते हैं, वहाँ से जब चलते हैं तो पहुँचते नहीं नीचे तक. So you have to devolve, you cannot devolve the receipts, but you devolve the expenditures. Lastly, and I am very clear, this will be sorted out. I have slight disagreement with Mr. Ibrahim Sidat about this export income. I firmly believe that there is no second argument that exporter income should be documented. It can be tax can be 0, tax can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. But this system of non-documentation of the income of exporter is not a viable option. They should return. In India, the export income is 0 rated. They compute their income and the tax is 0. But saying that this sector is out of the any books, मुझे तो ये बात समझ नहीं आती है. हम एज अकाउंटेंट जी कैसे कहते हैं किताबें नहीं रखनी? हम ये कह रहे हैं किताबें नहीं रखनी है. अकाउंटेंट जी कभी नहीं कह सकता किताबें नहीं रखनी. We should be very strong proponent of किताबें रखनी हैं, चाहे वो रखी जाए या नहीं रखी जाए. But we cannot say किताबें नहीं रखनी. We are saying that exporter should keep documentation. Yes, anyone. I am saying not exporter, anyone, whatsoever may be. Yes, I totally agree. Harassment है, problem है, मैं मानता हूँ. उस तरह टाइम को मैं मानता हूँ. But as an accountant, we cannot say किताबें नहीं रखनी. As an accountant, we will continue saying yes, किताबें रखनी हैं. Because we are the people who are the custodian of the regulator of the accounting profession. We are not the custodian of Judia Bazaar. And lastly, I would say इरफान साहब कि जो बोनस का जो है 30, उसको मेरा रिकमेंडेशन है 25 कर देंगे तो कहेंगे 0 कर दें. मैं कहता हूँ 30-25 को मेरा ख्याल है जो स्टेट फॉरवर्ड है, जो बोनस का टैक्स है वो 20 से 30 हुआ है. मेरा सजेशन है कि वो उसको 10 इज फर्स्टली माई सजेशन इज़ कि वो वैसे ही ख़त्म हो जाना चाहिए क्योंकि उसमें गलत है. क्योंकि या तो पूरे मुल्क को होना चाहिए या फिर हर सेक्टर में होना चाहिए. मगर अगर बोनस पे करना भी है 30 फ्रॉम 20 to 30 इज़ अ वेरी हाई रेट, शुड बी 25. And I will say the ultimate answer is education and no education, and that education for the girls. A move toward greener pasture and that for both genders. जब तक हम इस मुल्क की औरतों को साथ लेके नहीं चलेंगे, जब तक इस मुल्क की बच्चियां स्कूल नहीं जाएंगी, कुछ नहीं हो सकता. And I will end one share by अली सरदार जाफरी. दो शेर पढ़ूंगा, एक अल्लामा इकबाल का, एक अली सरदार जाफरी का. आँख जो कुछ देखती है लब पे आ सकता नहीं, मैं वे हैरत हूँ कि दुनिया क्या से क्या हो जाएगी. अमेरिका का सिस्टम चेंज हो गया तो सब कुछ बदल गया. बट माई कंट्री इज़, ये आबो खाक व बात का जहाँ बहुत हसीन है. अगर कोई बहिश्त है तो बस यही ज़मीन है. आई वुड लाइक टू एक्सप्लेन दिस सेकेंड शेयर इन टू कॉन्टेक्स्ट. पहली बात तो उस बहिश्त का इंतज़ार नहीं करें, इसको बहिश्त बनाएं. हम उस बहिश्त का इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं, बिल्कुल मिलेगी आपको, बस उस बहिश्त का इंतज़ार नहीं करें, इसको बहिश्त बनाएं. और दूसरा, अगर ये बहिश्त है तो पाकिस्तान है, अमेरिका बहिश्त नहीं है. आई विल अगेन रीड द शेर, ये आबो खाक व बात का जहाँ बहुत हंसी है. अगर कोई बहिश्त है तो वह यही ज़मीन है. दिस इज़ द ओनली प्लेस फॉर अस एंड आवर फ्यूचर जनरेशन. वी कैन नॉट अफोर्ड टू डिस्ट्रॉय इट. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, Mr. Shabarzadi, for a wonderful presentation as usual. Before going for the break for the Maghrib prayers, there is a small announcement with regards to Benevolent Fund, and I would request Mr. Khaliqur Rahman, our past president, to give his announcements.
Thank you, Mahmood. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be afraid. I'm not the fourth or the fifth speaker of the evening. I'm here from the forum of the Benevolent Fund, availing this opportunity that about 50% of the population of southern region is available tonight at this forum. So we thought that I avail this opportunity to speak to you on a one-to-one basis. You must be aware that Benevolent Fund is envisaging a lot of activities for the members. And one of the two activities that I would like to talk about is the group health insurance. You must have received my letter in the past, rather two letters in the past, and I would like to emphasize that this scheme has been designed, planned, and envisaged on certain number of members. The Askari health insurance has offered very lucrative rates for this scheme. Say, in terms of family of 4, you have one wife and 2 kids, the total cost per annum would be within 15,000 rupees. That would mean 1,250 rupees per month. At this minimal cost, you secure yourself against any future eventuality. I understand that some of you may have been already insured by your employer or by your organizations, but looking at this cost-effective scheme, you may consider to exclude members from that scheme and participate in this scheme so that you can get the benefit of a large-scale number benefit in terms of the premium. So your help and your support to this scheme is solicited, and I request, humbly submit to all of you to do consider participating in this scheme. Secondly, I would like to talk about the group life insurance scheme. Over the years, what we observed that our members started to decline participating in this scheme. And when we found out the reasons for that, we were told that it is mostly due to the un-Islamic concept of insurance. So this year, to meet the expectations of our members, we have switched over to takaful-based insurance system, which is the Islamic mode of insurance. Under this concept, the cost is also lower, the benefits are also higher. So we have got 2 slabs, 1 million and 2 million, and I assure you that in the future, when this scheme goes as a success, we are going to pursue the takaful to enhance the insurable limit so that our members can take benefit of that, and according to their status and the lifestyle, they can provide protection to the families. So the cost is also very low. It is 3.90 rupees per thousand, comparable to the whole system of insurance. So against 7,800, you insure yourself for 2 million rupees. So my submission to you, all of you, is do consider to participate in this scheme. Even if you are already insured, life insurance can be insured many times with number of insurance companies or the insurers. So if you have taken one insurance company, that doesn't mean you are debarred from entering into another contract of insurance. So my request to all of you is to do consider participating in this scheme. Unless we get numbers, we will not get benefit of the premium reductions this year or in the future. So this is what I have to share with you, with the request once again to do come forward and support the committee. We have a number of other projects where we can think of benefits to be extended to the members. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Time for Maghrib prayers. Ladies and gentlemen, we will reassemble inshallah at 8:40. Arrangements are made at Nargis Hall and near the pool side. Thank you very much. Of Karachi Chamber of Commerce, and who needs no introduction, and he's been a regular speaker since last year. And without wasting further time, I would request Mr. Motiwala to present his paper. Please welcome Mr. Motiwala.
It goes like this? Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Session Chairman, Mr. Irfan Nadeem. He also needs no introduction to the business community. He is a friend of the business community and mine as well. And learned speakers, Sayyid Masood Ali Naqvi, Mr. Ibrahim Yaqub Sidat, Shabbar Zaidi Saab, and the organizers, of course, of ICAP and this seminar. I'm indeed grateful for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of this august gathering, and I believe this is the most intellectual society or a club of people. I think they're all learned people, and as far as the economy is concerned, they are masters to it. So I think, I believe that I have learned a lot. And I'm also on the committee of this ICAP, one of the committees which when we were formulating those budget proposals. So I want to just start with this. The global meltdown that has seen the economies of the strong and mighty to totter and crumble has also seriously impacted the growth of economies of developing countries. The recession continues unabated, and in Pakistan, the situation is compounded with deteriorating law and order situation, paucity of energy, high cost of doing business, negative travel advisory, and so forth and so on. The exports from the country have taken a battering, and our country had to approach IMF for the bailout. While government all over the world offered incentives and packages to facilitate the economic recovery, our government, through the budgetary measures outlined in Federal Budget 2009 and 10, has only added further woes to an already ailing industrial sector. As a consequence, the exporters from the country, more specifically the textile exporters that form the major chunk of 65%, will decline further. The advisor to the Prime Minister, Mr. Shaukat Tareen, had publicly stated on a number of occasions that rather than loading the manufacturing sector with new taxes, which is already overburdened, the need of the time was to broaden the tax base. The new budget, he had promised, would not squeeze the old taxpayers anymore, but that would be, they would be facilitated to revive the industry. So this, we sat down with the advisor, I think minimum by 4 or 5 times. And in the last meeting, we had similar kind of presentation, and I'm very grateful to Shaukat Tareen Saab that he brought entire government with him. I mean, even the Secretary, Minister Textile was there, as far as we are concerned. Secretary Textile was there, and learned Irfan Nadeem Saab was also there, and the Chairman CBR was there, and then State Bank Governor was also there, and everybody from the government that can count was there. He brought everybody with him and had a marathon meeting with us, and in that meeting, he very graciously accepted that the zero rating on the textile sector would continue. I'm grateful, and I'm thanking him at this occasion also. But at the same time, we actually entered into many more things, which were supposed to be part of the budget. He agreed that the industry is not performing. Industry needs stimulation. Industry needs support of the government. He also agreed that the only way to broaden, to increase the tax and revenue is to broaden the tax base, which we increased. Now, what has happened, I believe, in the process is that with the growing population with the growing demands. We are at war against terror. That requires a lot of money. And there are other things which you need a growing revenue collection. But to do that, in my belief, and I told him also, and he agreed too, that taxes are nothing but the byproduct of the vibrant economy. More the vibrancy in the economy, more the taxes. You don't have to collect the taxes through coercive measures, through creating amendments into the tax, through creating the Director of Intelligence in the Income Tax Department, and by squeezing the present taxpayer. Any of the measure taken in this budget doesn't clarify, at least I don't know, if somebody of you know, that through this budget have we been able to create more taxpayers? Then how this 300 billion revenue would come? I mean, you have to increase the revenue. Let's see what has happened. In year 98-99, the revenue collection used to be 350 billion. So our trade account was 34 billion. Now, when the trade account has gone to 60 billion, we collected ₹1 trillion. So that's how the taxes go up. It never comes when you set the target and things like that and amend the laws whereby you give sweeping powers to the tax collectors and what not. If I'll explain further, there are how many acts and how many sections of the income tax have been amended, and even in the sales tax also. That is not the idea. Idea is that we industrialists believe, we exporters believe, that when you grow the trade account, when you enhance your trade, when you expand your trade, when the volumes go higher, taxes will automatically come. Now, what happened that they saw that there is a 7% decline in small and medium size, 3.3% in the large scale manufacturing. If agriculture did not came to rescue, it was a very, very disastrous position. We ended up with a very, very sorry note. And now they needed more money. So what they can do? They tried to impose the tax on agriculture, but the political will was not there. They could not do it. So they needed money. So what they did is they used the old method of squeezing the present taxpayer, and by now the tax, they knew that the economy has not grown. The size of the trade has not grown. So the taxes will not come. The only way that they can do this is to squeeze the present taxpayers by bringing in some very harsh laws which are not liked for. So we firmly believe that the approach of the government in this budget is not called for. We need to make more flexibility, more of a facilitation to the industry so that we can grow. If we are in textile exports, which is the mainstay of Pakistan, which is 60% plus of your exports, of your foreign exchange, has not done well. We have got a minus of 11 months, we have got 7.68% negative growth. Now with this negative growth, are you looking for the creating the employment opportunities? Do you want to have more foreign exchange, or you're looking for the taxes that the government could not decide and come up with this kind of a budget, which we believe it would retard the growth of the industry, which would not bring the results which we all want to, which cannot bring the desired revenue of 1400 plus. I don't think this can happen with this kind of an atmosphere. Yes, they did announce 40 billion rupees for the textile industry, but how they would come, I don't know. And out of the 40 billion also, 10 billion have been taken from the EDF, which is our own money. That's Export Development Fund, which they deduct at the port. Now that money belongs to us, that has been deducted from our exports. Now that has been allocated into that textile sector. And then further, they say that the other incentive which we would give out of this 40 billion is that we would reduce the gas prices by 12%. This is not your money. This is not your money. This is the money of the textile people, and that cross subsidization which you're doing on the gas is altogether a different story. I just want to continue with this. So the tax on, as I told you, tax on the agriculture was drummed up so ceremoniously and then dumped unceremoniously without a whimper. The philosophy of income tax, wherever and whenever there is income, it should be taxed. Agriculture is a sacrosanct sector in Pakistan which do not pay the taxes. Now our statement is very clear. We the industrialists believe that we don't say that which sector you belong to. If you are an industrialist, you have to pay tax. If you are an agriculturist, you don't pay the tax. We are not challenging even the laws of the land. What we are saying is that if there is a benchmark of 200,000 rupees where you are eligible or where you become mature to pay income tax, anybody who makes some money on this soil which crosses that threshold, which crosses that benchmark, should pay the tax. I mean, anybody who makes money on this soil. Why? There is a classification between the people. If you make it from that sector, you don't pay. You make it from this sector, you pay. You can't avoid. And then they say our tax to the GDP ratio is too low. It is 9%. I say it is 11%. And I'm right too. I can prove it too. Because you take your economy as 100% to what it is. And then your trade account is not this what you're calculating. 21.8% is agriculture, which is sacrosanct, which is immune. They don't pay taxes. Now when they don't pay taxes, how can you divide that figure with 100? You are all chartered accountants and economists. So I think that has to be calculated. And when you divide this with 79 point some percent to what the tax revenues are, you will come up with a figure of 11%, not 9%. And this is, similar to regional countries. India has got 13 to 14%. Sri Lanka has got about 11, 12%. Bangladesh is about 13, 14, 15%. So we are not very far from our regional competitors and regional countries. So that means that you have to come up, you have to impose tax on services, you have to come up with all the sectors. Those who make money should pay taxes. I totally believe that at this time of history of Pakistan, we are passing through the most critical economic disaster, economic crisis in the country. We are at fight against the war against terror, which I believe is the much a larger war, much a dangerous war than we fought in 71 and 65. It is the war against the people who are already inside the country, and the government has taken the challenge. We believe that requires money, but you have to find the money where it is, not from where it is not. Those who are discharging their liabilities must not be taxed. Its outlay, I believe that the speakers before me must have elaborated this. So if you allow, I can skip this, because what is the total outlay and what is this? I think that has been gone. See, in the outgoing year, inflation had reached 25%. And the primary reason for such a state was said to be the fiscal deficit of 7.75%. This year, the budget targets a fiscal deficit at 2.5 billion or 4.9% of the GDP. However, budget exercise has a general tendency to overestimate receipts and underestimate the expenditures. This budget is also seen in this line. It is highly dependent on external help and generous inflow of external resources. For instance, the Friends of Pakistan and the USA. Now, Shaukat Tareen Sahab, here I have to stop and I want to share you the news item which appeared only next day of the budget, that yes, 168 billion we expect to receive from Friends of Pakistan. If we don't receive, we have to again go back to the IMF. These assumptions and pre-assumptions will leave us highly vulnerable to external influences. Not to speak the situation we will be driven in case of external help do not materialize. Every federal budget carries a devil in the detail that is camouflaged in the heaps of the SROs that are appended to the document. This budget is no different. Only detailed analysis reveals the true impact. Ladies and gentlemen, I now come to the devil in the detail. Some salient points and those related to the textile industry. Section 133, Income Tax Ordinance. The residence companies were required to pay minimum tax of 0.5% of the turnover till tax year 2008. We were representing this case for 11-12 years, and it only lasted for 2 years. And it was again brought back when it was abolished, considering the low quantum of tax collected. The bill seeks reintroduce the concept of the minimum tax on the resident companies, where no tax or the tax payable is less than 0.5% of the total turnover. This is a step, I think it's step backward. The section 154, subsection 4 of Income Tax Ordinance 2001, the bill seeks to exclude exporters from the ambit of final tax regime. This is most important and most disturbing to the industrialists of this country, to the exporters of this country. I believe that I personally believe that this is a mistake. This is an anomaly which would be rectified tomorrow, day after tomorrow. I think this cannot work, and I think it's a mistake on part of those. I don't call it a typographical mistake, but I call it a mistake, not by the advisor, not by those people, but people you all know. So by processing an amendment in words, final tax is substituted as minimum tax. Effectively, this means that such taxpayers will be required to furnish return over normal tax regime and pay the tax whichever is higher of the two. This amendment will cause great hardship to the exporters and needs to be revisited. The exporters should be given option for either of the two regimes. Now here I really want to take along with you with the meetings which we had. While we were discussing the cost of doing business in this country, to bring it down in any case, to become competitive and enhance the export of textile and utilize the unutilized capacities existing in the textile sector, and the government agreed that we would relook into this 1%. And we thought that this will become 0.5% instead of 1%. As in Bangladesh, this same tax is 0.25%. So we were paying 1%, so we felt that this will be brought down to 1%. Instead, this kind of a backlash has been, what happened? 1% tax on exports? Are you trying to make money out of the exports? Do you want foreign exchange or the taxes? I mean, there's 1% plus the regular regime. Now, somebody who has exported to the tune of, let's say, 100,000 rupees would pay 1,000 rupees. Now, that was his full and final liability. Now, 1,000 rupees would be paid, and then you will file the normal return, which what does that mean of filing the normal returns? We don't have that time. We want to concentrate on marketing, on developing the products, and so forth and so on. That is why this was not there. Now, what they did, they said you file that, and this is a minimum tax. I believe this is an anomaly, and inshallah it will be removed. The section 176, 1 into bracket B, and section 210 of 2001, the bill seeks to empower commissioner to delegate the chartered accountants to carry out audit under 177 with powers as are vested under the Code of Civil Procedures 1908. Seek any information, production of records or computer to impound and retain such computers, etc. This sounds like a police state dealing with the hardened criminals instead of those who have invested in this country. This is how we respect the investors in this country. Agriculture is making any amount of money, gets scot-free, doesn't pay a single penny, roam around in Pajeros and Prados, and keep so many things. But industrialists are subjected to this kind of treatment. We believe that it should be, rescinded. Section 192 to 198 Income Tax Ordinance 2001. In offences that are convictable, the bill proposes to quantify fines and imprisonment. These are harsh measures which will not be productive in enlarging the tax base. Because we always talk about why you make people shy to keep themselves out of the clutches of the income tax or any payment which is due to them. Because they see that those who are in the net are suffering. And why should I put myself into those shoes? And why I should declare whatever I have income? As long as they can keep themselves out, they keep. Because these kind of laws, nobody would come in. We need to see, after 60 years of existence of Pakistan, we have got about 2 million taxpayers, 2 million plus. And out of that, salaried class is about 55%. What are the significant, those people who are paying significant taxes is only 100,000. In a country of 180 million people, only 100,000 people pay significant taxes. Isn't that crazy? And doesn't it sound that what we look at Pakistan, this number needs to increase. And this number can only increase if you got voluntary sort of a system, minimum meeting of collector and the taxpayer, and so forth and so on. The laws which are applicable in the Western world, they are giving also those facilities to those taxpayers which are due. I think we are far away. We have to see the role models around us, what Bangladesh is doing. They've gone to $11 billion of value-added export. exports out of the Bangladesh. What has happened? It is not only the market access which they have, it is the cost of doing business also. It is the peace of mind also. It is the attitude of the government also. You know, exporters are given red number plates then whenever, and this is the agreement between the two parties of Bangladesh. The main two political parties have agreed that we will not let the export suffer, no matter what kind of agitation is going on against the government or against each other with the two parties. When the container going to the port comes around, they all just they give them way to that container because they say this is our bread and butter. There is no strike in Bangladesh under the agreement by the political parties between 7 and 8:30 in the morning, same times in the evening, because this is the time when the laborers working in the export-oriented countries go to their work and come back. They say we will not let Bangladesh suffer. This is the attitude and this is the mindset of the government and the political parties. We need to facilitate if you want to grow, if you want to create the employment in this country. So, Section 5, 229, Income Tax Ordinance 2001. The bill seeks establishment. This is very interesting. That we, as if we don't answer the calls of ITOs and assistant commissioners and members, that now the new bill has been brought in, which says that establishment of Director General, Intelligence and Investigation of Income Tax. The powers have not been defined. It is only said that exercise such powers as may be assigned by the board. Creation of such official is bound to increase the sense of insecurity a taxpayer may feel because of the element of the harassment. Over and above these amendments and additions proposed in the bill, the discretionary powers of the tax officials have been greatly enhanced. That will lead to coercion and harassment of the existing taxpayers. Power corrupts.